Well, hello and welcome to another episode of Wellness Wednesday. I'm going to get straight down to business because season one was with Tyler Lowe, and he was more of a workplace wellness guru. The lady that I'm going to be talking to over the next 4 weeks is Diahanne Rhiney. Diahanne, how you doing?
I am well, hooked and feeling happy. You know that they say, it's all part of wellness because when the sun is out, people are happy. No
Natural,
sad.
natural vitamin D
I'm telling you.
every time, and that's why we pay to get away from the cold in this country to go and get guaranteed natural vitamin D, whether that be in the
Yeah.
Caribbean, certain parts of America, Canada, Far East. So it really is important. And I do think natural vitamin D is very good for us, especially women of our origin. We need it.
Yeah, no. And it's serious. And a lot of times with people who have certain ailments and autoimmune diseases, etc., the doctors even say if they could they could actually write a prescription for sun
Yeah,
because that's what you need.
yeah, yeah. And it's interesting because I take vitamin D orally, but when the sun's out, it's a different feeling.
It is a different thing. Don't you notice? I always say the one thing I love when the UK is hot and sunny, when you walk, people say hello.
Yeah.
Normally they don't say hello to you, but it just everybody's mental health, their attitude, everything changes. So, let it continue.
So I say all the time, when the sun comes out in this country, I come across people that I didn't even know had teeth. Because when they walk, because they walk past you in the autumn and the winter, in the summer, it's like, well, you had teeth. Anyway, Diahanne, thanks for joining me on Wellness Wednesday. I've got a feeling that these are going to be some very enriching conversations. And I think woman to woman, black woman to black woman, there are going to be some things that we can discuss that maybe from a different ailment, a different element, we might not get that
Mm-hmm.
connection or that same key. So you're very, very clear about your mission. Tell me first of all about the next mission that you're taking on in terms of women's wellness.
Well, the next mission for me is really creating a global platform called My Caroline, and it's named after my mum, who really was a beacon to bring women who look like us, women with Black heritage together. And she always used to say, "Your health is your wealth."
Yeah,
And she was not wrong.
yeah,
Yeah. So I want to bring a global platform, bring all these women together globally so we can share, um, exchange little remedies, have nutritionists on, have a dietitian, have a psychologist like myself or a psychotherapist, all the different elements, fitness, so that we can be the best version of ourselves mentally and physically.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
don't think people realize mentally is a huge thing. I keep telling people our brains are one of the most powerful tools we have. And the same way that you and I might go to the gym and go for our walk and exercise for our physical health, our mental health is, if not, is more important. Because if you're not mentally sound, or if there's things like stress or burnout, or all the things that we're going to talk about, it affects us physically. So people need to really I truly believe stress is a big thing that is the undercurrent that affects most of the stuff physically we go through.
Absolutely. And it's the silent killer, isn't it? Because we
I think so.
yeah, yeah. We push stress down. I don't know why we don't like to admit to being stressed. It's almost as though it's an embarrassment or an area of being defeated. But I think the best thing we can do is admit that we are stressed and deal with the areas that trigger the stress off. Because if you
and learn boundaries.
yeah,
Learn boundaries. It's one of the things that I'm definitely will talk about through the series. If you learn boundaries, and I have to get good at this myself, I have to, do the do and not just talk the talk, yeah? Because I used to say Fridays is my time for me. But then if a meeting came up, I'd be like, oh, okay, I can move it around. Now, sorry, Fridays, any day you can do? Well, I can't do that day.
yeah,
5 days are for me for my spa days, my day to catch up with my girls, whatever it is, for me, that Friday is precious.
yeah.
People see it as, oh, that day's for me, but it's a day that's still open to be negotiated. No,
No
my boundaries are
negotiation.
very clear.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So the thing is, Diane, if we don't deal with stress, we will eventually burn out. And we're going to
And
talk
that
about
is the
burnout
thing.
today, aren't we?
And burnout is, people understand it, it's a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive, prolonged stress. That's the definition of burnout. Yeah. And I always say to people, some people don't even recognize that they're burnt out, and it's like saying, so what are the signs? Emotional feelings of failure, helplessness, detachment, loss of motivation. Those are just some of the emotional signs. Behavioral, procrastination, withdrawal from responsibilities, isolation from others. So
Yeah,
it has a real big impact on us.
it does.
But some people just don't recognize that what they're suffering from is burnout. And often the reason why people don't want to admit they have burnout is they feel embarrassed.
Yeah.
They generally feel it's, oh, I'm not good at what I'm doing. I'm not good at being a mum and juggling, or I'm not good at running a household, or I'm not good at work, or I'm not good. And all of these things culminate to this big.
But why I'm just asking because look, I think at some stage in our lives, we're both women of a certain age. I think at some stage in our lives, we've had the warning signs that burnout is on the way.
Yes, we do.
If not, we've burnt out.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that we feel we need to keep going? I mean, I can tell you why I feel we need to keep going, but generally, what is it about women and this need to keep going, this need to appear to be superwoman, this need to appear to have it all?
But that's societal.
And be
That's societal. And that's societal, because think of it. Funny enough, I was having this very conversation with my other half just recently. I was saying, why is it that now it's the summer holidays, the children are home, the children are home, and I put some of the pressure I put on myself, but society puts it on us, because we should be able to go to work, juggle the kids, start out summer school, do the cooking when you come home. And people say, oh, no, it's not like that. It is like that. Let's be real, people. We still, as females, as women, have these multiple job titles.
Yeah.
And then when we feel we can't fulfill them, we feel like we're a failure, or we're not a good wife, or a good partner, or a good mum. And we actually are not kind to ourselves. Everybody, let me tell you this for now. Fridays is takeaway day for me. Yeah, me not cooking, and I don't feel bad about it. Yeah. Yesterday, one of my twins said to me, oh, what's there for dinner? Because I hadn't cooked. What is there for dinner?
Yeah.
I don't feel bad anymore. I don't feel bad, but I'm at that place. But many of us need to get to that place that it's okay to not have the dinner ready and the washing done and do that report and finish it by the deadline. That is okay.
Because the thing is, you mentioned about being a good wife, being a good mother, having the holidays booked and the the food.
Everything.
So, on a daily basis, we wear many hats anyway. But sometimes one of those hats has just got to come off. One of those hats has just got to come off. And also, shouldn't the first hat that we put on to prevent burnout be our hat? Should you not put on your own, the hat of self that we've been told to look after ourselves is selfish? I hear when you say, I ain't cooking today. There is nothing wrong in being selfish if it's going to keep your emotional reserve full and keep your resources in a place whereby you can then be a good wife. You can book the holidays. You can do the school run. You can do the dinner. You can do all of the things that the other hats require. You've got to keep that emotional resource full because you can't give from an empty cup.
Oh, as my mum said, you can't pour from an empty cup. But the thing is, language is very important. So even what you just said, we are conditioned that if you put yourself first, you are selfish. So even the word, the tag, has a real effect on us, on how we deal with stuff moving forward. So I think sometimes we have to change our language, because to me, it's self-preservation. It's not being selfish, it's actually that we have to be really clear with, like when you're getting on a plane, I always use this as an example. The plane is now going into distress. The gas come down. Lord have mercy.
I know exactly what you're going to say. Go on.
And what does they always say? Even if you have children, put the mask on yourself first. Because if you can't breathe, if you can't do nothing, you can't do anything for your children, your partner, and whoever else. So we need to look at life that, do you know what? There comes a moment I need to put this mask on myself first so that I am well mentally, physically, everything for myself so that I can be of help to you, my children, to you, my sister, to you, my mother, whoever. Because you can be carers, you've got so much going on. Yeah? But if you can't breathe, you're no good to anybody else.
No good to anyone.
People need to look at it differently.
What were the signs of burnout for you? When did you know, I've got to stop? I've got to have a day for myself. I've got to set boundaries. I've got to say no.
Do you know what? Mine was reduced productivity. Because actually, people don't understand, when you're burnt out, your actual productivity is reduced. I was overwhelmed. Do you know what I mean? Just overwhelmed. Like, the best way I can explain it, there's a bucket.
Yeah.
I was the bucket and the water was at the top. And if one more drop went into my bucket, it would have just gone. So I just felt this lack of productivity. You get an increase, what people don't understand again, you pick up things easily, health-wise, because what happens, your immune system gets affected, everything gets affected. You get anxiety.
Yes.
Some people get depression. I wasn't depressed, but I was overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm very clear to say that.
I found that I was sleeping a lot. There was a period where I was really on top of things. I was getting up 6:30 every morning. If I wasn't going out for a walk, I was going for the gym. I was eating very, very healthily. For me, it was cutting out sugar, cut out white carbs. I found that I wasn't drinking alcohol, and I was on top of my game. I really was. The minute I started to incorporate those things back into my diet, I felt myself slowing down. But I still wanted to go out at 6:30 in the morning, and I still wanted to do all of the things that I could do without feeling any kind of anxiety, any kind of resistance. But I could just feel myself going down. And I always used to, if I only work 3 hours a day, I'm fine. I've got so much time in the day to do all of these other things that I don't have to do because I'm only required to work 4 till 7. But we still have to pace ourselves because burnout can visit you anytime when you least expect it.
And it has, from a society point of view, people don't realize, and I'm surprised that, you know, I know workplaces particularly are starting to become a lot more aware.
Absolutely.
And us as a society are becoming a lot more aware because it has increased healthcare costs, economic impact due to loss of work days, you know, broader public health implications. There's so much that burnout affects that it's to everybody's benefit
Yeah,
that we get on top of it.
absolutely. Did you find things like catching colds more often? Or for me,
Yeah, that's what I said. Your immune system gets down and then you pick up every stupid little thing.
it was,
You
I
know,
got a sore throat. I can remember before I had my tonsils out, the first place that used to get affected was my throat. Now, being on the radio, I need my voice. So I would always be in hospital. And eventually I thought, right, there's something going on here. So I had my tonsils out. So even though my throat was affected, it didn't hospitalize me, but I just found it was difficult to talk. The immune system meant I was getting aches and pains, not through exercise. I was getting colds more regularly. And I found that my structure went out of the window.
yeah, it does. Yeah.
Even though in here and in here, I didn't want to accept it. So being in denial at work, I wasn't performing as well as I could. Now, like I say, I'm only required 3 hours a day. But if in those 3 hours you're not performing, you have to listen to those warning signs. So, what are your tips for dealing with burnout?
There's a few stress management techniques like mindfulness, exercise. Believe it or not, exercise really helps. I mean, like you said, you go for a walk. For me, I get up extra early when everybody's asleep in my household, about 5:30, and I do meditation. For me, that what sets me for the day. It kind of sets the mood, you know. Even things like gratitude. Sometimes you might want to journal. There's so many different things for different people, but one of the biggest ones, as I said at the beginning, is setting boundaries.
Yeah.
You know, and also it's about sometimes seeking social support,
Yes.
going to groups, doing something that, you know, I've always, art is in my blood. Sometimes I like to just sketch and draw, you know, it's whatever could work for you.
Got a little colouring book right at the end there. Right at the end, I put a colouring book. Yeah. And up there somewhere, there's some colouring pencils. So sometimes I just come in this room and I just do a bit of colouring and it just really helps me to calm down a bit. You say that burnout is something that's been put on us. It's a societal thing. But how do you come against what society puts in place, and especially in the workplace, when you've got mortgages, when you've got car payments, when you've got school fees, when you want to go on holiday, especially if you're single, a single parent, whether a single mother or a single father, how do you come up against those things in order to maintain your life, but knowing that if you don't set these boundaries, it's going to affect your mental health, you're going to burn out?
But I think also it's interesting because a lot of the times with burnout, we actually put additional pressure on ourselves. I'm not saying that some people out there who have employers, they don't put their own stresses on you. But actually, we are the ones who put further pressure, whether it's about being perfect or trying to do it all. And that's why I say when you start to put boundaries in place, start to organize stuff, like, and it's about managing other people's expectations. On my emails, and this is something little, but it's had an immense impact. I tell people on my emails, I check my emails twice a day between this time and this time. So straight away, I've alleviated some of the, I've got an email coming. Oh my God, I've got to answer it. No, you blooming well don't. But this is what I'm saying. we've conditioned ourselves as well. You need to set boundaries. Well, you know, if that email come in after them times, sorry, love. It is what it is, isn't it?
Yes.
And this is what I'm saying. It's about, we need to take back control. And you can do that even in the workplace. Say, okay, what are the real priorities? Because these days, everything's urgent. They're so lie. It's not urgent. You know, again, take back your power and say, okay, this report is going to take me 14 days. So don't tell people, oh, I'll get that to you by 4 days' time.
But does that also not come from a place of being afraid that the people at work believe you can't perform? So you put that pressure on yourself.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We put it on ourselves. As long as you deliver, you know, as long as you deliver. And this is why I say you have to become a lot more assertive, because you need to say to yourself, mate, yeah, I need money to live, but I need to be alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what is the priority? I need to be alive. I'm good at what I do. I know how long something's going to take to do. I know X, Y, Z. And then you then change that whole process around you. You know, the client might say, oh, I need this in a week. Sometimes you can push back.
Yeah.
You can say, and you can say to your boss, that's great. I've got to deliver this for Mr. Blobby on this day, but I also have this that I need to deliver. Which one is the priority?
Yes.
So you make them take some of that responsibility.
Yeah. We are in control, aren't we? We are.
We are more than what we believe, than we think.
So burnout,
you know,
is effectively relinquishing control, not setting boundaries, and then, for want of a better way of putting it, hiding the fact that we can do something, which we can, but we don't give ourselves time and grace. So what I'm getting from what you're saying is set boundaries, be kind to yourself.
Listen, be more than kind. Let me tell people, I've been running my business for 31 years. I need grace for me, you know? You know, when people say, look at me, honestly, when I say I don't work Friday, they look at me like, oh. And I say it again, loud and clear, no. Nobody asks for a meeting on a Friday. It's not happening.
I love that. Diahanne, do you want to give us the details of your website and also your business, so that if anybody watching wants to know anything about you, they know where they can find you?
Yeah, please. The website is called www.mycaroline.co.uk. And when you land on it, I'm biased, obviously. I think it's a warm, inviting platform. And you start off with a free membership, look around, see who else you can liaise with and hear from and stuff. And honestly, we've got tons of information. We've got retreats lined up. We've got workshops, all these stuff that center around us.
And what more can you ask? What more can you ask? Diahanne, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. Diahanne Rhiney talks about burnout. We don't want to get there. And I think her message, her general message is set boundaries and be kind to yourself. Be more than kind to yourself. Diahanne, thank you so, so much.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.